Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame their growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and then connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Got a little story for you, roofers. Jerry Aliberti is the principal and founder of Pro-Accel, construction consulting firm that specializes in helping small to medium-sized contractors optimize their operations and grow their businesses. In this episode, Jerry drops some golden nugget advice for roofing company owners on how they can grow their businesses exponentially. So be sure to listen up as Jerry shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. We have a special guest here today. I'm super pumped to bring him on. Jerry, thank you so much for coming on to Roofer Growth Hacks.
And Chris, thanks for having me. I'm really pumped up as well.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and just start rolling into this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey? Where did it start? Where are you now with it?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the New York City construction market for over 21 years. I worked for contractors ranging anywhere between $100 million a year to $1 billion a year.
Wow.
And I personally ran over $300 million of my own work, in addition to being a part of several hundred more million as an assistant super, PM, whatever it may be. I've also led estimating teams as a senior estimator to over $10 billion worth of work. Single largest project was a $1.25 billion project. So I worked for 3 different companies, and I would say after 14 years of working for my first company, I made a move, and I think it was the beginning of my entrepreneurial itch that I didn't really know at that point. Right?
Yeah.
I had started a concrete company actually, and it was a side hustle. I'll be honest, and for me to go where I wanted to go financially and keep the momentum going, because it is concrete in the Northeast, right? I needed to get back into the city. I didn't want to go that way. So, I have a really extensive background in operations, whether it's project management, running my own jobs, or a super, and also leading estimating teams. So, I decided a couple years ago to break away, not go the traditional route of starting my own construction company, but rather helping contractors build and grow their businesses. I was always in lead roles. I'm going to tweak my horn a little bit. I'm a very competent construction professional. So I moved up really quickly, really at a really young age, running multi-million dollar projects. The first project I was on was $150 million job, right? So
Yeah.
just making moves from contractor to contractor. I started off in the civil world. The next thing you know, I was dealing with roofers. I was dealing with glazers and door schedules and tile subs. So I have a really diverse background. And, here I am, owner of Pro-Accel. Now I help contractors build and grow their businesses and reduce and eliminate growing pains.
Awesome. That's so cool. So, complete side note here, right? First time I've ever been to, you said you're in the city, right? Are you still in the city?
Well, I'm in the suburbs. I'm north of New York City. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
I've always worked in New York City. So
Awesome. Okay. So me and my family just recently, for the first time I've ever done it, like gone to New York City, and we were in Manhattan. I think we walked about 15 miles in one day because we were trying to fit it all in one day. That's about all that we had, to do it in. And it was fun. It was exciting and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cool.
yeah, listen, I have an 11-year-old kid, and he's never stepped foot in Manhattan before.
Wow.
Honestly, I've spent so many hours and years in the city. I'm just so I was there yesterday, and it's becomes very stressful when you live next to me. But anyways, that's me. So, but there's
Yeah.
a ton of work there.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet. Yeah. There's a lot of things going on there. So your biggest one, you were saying, is that $1.2 billion project?
So that was my largest estimating job as a senior estimator. I was one of
Wow.
several senior estimators.
Yeah.
My scope of work involved about $300-400 million. But again, I was a part of
Wow.
the
Yeah.
overall bid, and it was a project on the East Side Highway, and it was great because that project had everything. It had civil work, it had small buildings. So there was all
Wow.
the building trades and the divisions of those trades, of
Yeah.
those specs. Then there was bridges as well. So there was
Hmm.
there was underground civil work, there was esplanade, so there was bridges going over the water. You had to get
Wow.
tugboats, and tons of piles, tons of landscaping work, and then again, small buildings, and then there was bridges as well. And it was just, it was a
Wow.
phenomenal experience. Took us 5 months. Unfortunately, we didn't get the job, but
Oh,
it was a phenomenal experience.
yeah, that's a lot of work, I would imagine, right? Um, okay,
Yeah.
so why don't you tell us about a little bit about Pro-Accel and you know how what are you doing with that? How are you helping people out?
Yeah, so what I do with Pro-Accel, although I started my business a couple years ago, what I do is what I've been doing for 21 years. Like how I said before, I moved up really quickly, and because of that, I was able to be a part of a lot of the strategic planning. And again, I worked for $100 million a year company, a
Yeah.
$400 million a year company, and $1 billion a year company. And I was able to help them with their strategies and their processes and things of
Yeah.
that nature. And naturally, I took on those roles organically, right? Like as I started getting my own jobs, I started implementing my own process development and my own strategies for planning and improved communication on those projects. So I enjoyed that a lot, and I broke away with Pro-Accel, and my goal with Pro-Accel is to help contractors who don't have that large construction process,
Mm,
who don't have that large construction background, who understand that what got you the 5 million is not going to get you the 10 million. What got you the 10 million is not going to get you the 30 million. The entrepreneur. So when you just start, you're an entrepreneur, you're a manager, and you're a technician.
yeah.
As you're growing, you need to give away the tasks of a technician to an actual technician. You need to give away the tasks of a manager so you can focus on the entrepreneurial
Mhm.
skills and develop the strategy that you need to continue build your business development and your backlog with your organization. And that's where I come in. I help contractors understand at what point, what are your next hires? What's
Mm,
your hierarchy? What's the culture of your company supposed to look like? And the chain of command supposed to look
yeah.
like? How are you getting your next job? Are you looking into the future in the backlog? Right now, we're in a presidential year. A lot of contractors are complaining that their backlog is lagging. It's because everybody's a little shaky with the economy.
Yeah.
And these are all the things that help contractors work out, develop the strategy, and do an operational assessment, help them build and grow their business and reduce their growing pains.
So, who would you say your ideal, client is that you work with?
Right. So I can work with a startup as long as they're willing to invest in themselves and
Yeah.
in their company. I personally spent a lot of money before I even made a single dollar in my business. So for me, I saw the impact of that. Contractors need to see the impact of that as well. So again, I can work with anybody from a startup stage. So far, my largest client was sitting around $85 million a year.
Wow. Very
Yeah, and
cool.
I can help any contractor at any capacity, at any
Yeah.
revenue stream, but I focus on growing contractors because I feel like they need someone like me the most. As
Mhm.
long as they have to understand the concept of if you wanna go fast, you go alone. If you wanna go far, you go together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, as I start helping contractors, I find myself finding opportunities where I can help and be like a fractional COO, right? That's a
Yeah.
big position, and it's a very important position. It's a position that costs a lot of money too. If I could
Yeah.
do it at a fraction of the cost and still help you develop that role,
Mm,
well, it's a win-win for everybody, right? So,
yeah.
but it starts off with a discovery phase, and then we move on to that if it goes that route.
Super cool. So, what would you say then? Like, I assume that you've got a lot of processes, lined out for, and especially if you're serving as a fractional COO level, you know, what's the biggest issue that you see that people come to you have when it comes to that operation specifically?
Yeah. So again, I'll be clear. I am an operations consultant, right? Like
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
the accounting
Okay.
side goes, I always have people
Yeah.
that I refer to as well. I'm straight up operations. I am.
Okay. All right. All right.
Well, I help you when I help you. So you're a professional marketer yourself. I help them introduce them to the world of
Yeah.
marketing, right? And
Yeah.
then business development, and then estimating, solidifying your estimate. Let's go after the right estimate as well.
Hmm.
How are you getting those estimates out to your field? How are we tracking those costs out in the field as well? Especially if you're a larger contractor where your roofing it takes weeks and weeks. And then also about continuous improvement as well
Okay. Yeah.
is how what's your client satisfaction look like? Because if
Mm.
you're in the beginning stages, well, I mean, you always need to be worried about client satisfaction. But if you're in the
Yeah.
beginning stages, you really need to be able to have referrals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. And typically what I see when people come to me is that for the most part, they think that their sales is down. They've got their sales down, but they really truly don't, right? That's almost always the first thing that breaks, right?
Yeah.
When we start giving them more and more leads. But the other thing that breaks a lot, right, when we work with our clients is they just don't have the right people or enough people, right? In the right positions. Okay. So first thing almost always is like the foreman. They don't have a foreman in place in order to go out and do quality control on the jobs to ensure that there are, you know, keeping those clients, those customers, those homeowners for the most part, right, satisfied. So yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So for sure. I mean, that is certainly one of probably the top five growing pains. That is
Yeah.
one, my hires.
Yeah.
Two, well, I didn't hire right, let me say.
Yeah.
Two, who is my next hire that's going to allow me to continue to step out of my business as well? I mean, you're
Yeah.
never going to be fully out of your business, but you need to focus on the entrepreneurial side of things rather than being the technician all the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, I would say three is cash flow, right?
Mm.
You need cash flow. I mean, you can run a business without profit, which is not advisable. Obviously, you always
No.
want profit to reinvest into your business and to grow. But
Yeah.
what's your cash flow situation? Four, I would say, is a lot of contractors are so hungry for work because they're not
Hmm.
planning properly, where they take on bad jobs.
Oh yeah.
And those bad jobs, one, complete destroy any chance of getting a profit and also destroy cash flow as well. And I would say five is just mindset as well. Is so I find an entrepreneur is either one of two. It's one, they realize really quickly in their life they wanted to have their own business. They never
Hmm.
really held the position of a project manager, a super, or even being a technician and actually installing a roof. Or
Yeah.
two, they've been a roofer for 10, 15 years. They broke away, they started their own business and they don't know the business side of things. They're really sketchy on the estimating side. You mentioned sales.
Yeah.
What's your sales process look like? Are
Yeah.
you just sending in a bid and then forgetting about it and going and installing a roof? What's your
Yeah.
sales process look like? What's your business development process look like? What's your networking process look like? How are you following up with for your previous clients and trying to get referrals out of them? Yeah, I get it. A roof, you install it, and then 20 years later, you're
Yeah.
you're expecting a call. But a person who's so let's talk residential, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so you did a fantastic job. A person just spent 20, $30,000 on a new roof. That's going
Yeah.
to be a hot topic for them and for 2, 3, 4 weeks of their life. If they're a middle class person, 20, $30,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So while the iron is hot and it's top of mind for your customer who you just did a fantastic job for, what are you doing to get that person to spread the word to the dozens of conversations and dozens of people they're speaking to on a per day basis?
Yeah.
You got to strike while the iron's hot,
Yeah.
and then what are you doing to follow up with them? And you know, there's so much opportunity, and that's where and that's where it goes back to what I said before. When you're by yourself on this journey, you're so caught up in the day to
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
operations.
Yep.
What is your strategy for the long term? You eventually got to work out of the business.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with the day-to-day operations and you're focusing on the backlog and you're focusing on your strategy for the next 18 months or so. And this is part of that strategy growth, and I
Yeah.
feel that this is where contractors start to reach out to me is like, you know what, I'm realizing I'm getting burnt out. I'm
Yeah.
getting burnt out. I just don't know what my next steps are.
Yeah. So what would you say the first, on average, what's the first thing that you tell people to get out of? Like, a lot of roofers that I talk with that are one man shops, they're trying to do everything. What's the first hat to take off?
Again, it's going back to being out of that technician where you're on the
Mm,
roof with the guys all day
yeah,
long, micromanaging.
yeah.
You got to
So,
figure out how to not micromanage, which is very difficult for a lot of people.
yeah,
It's difficult for me as well. I'll be
yeah,
honest with you. But you got to get out of the micromanaging stage. How do you get out of the micromanaging stage is being able to set your people up correctly. How you set your people up correctly is maybe something as simple as daily checklists, look
mhm,
ahead schedules, what's the proper technology you have implemented. I hate when people think that they need technology to grow. Technology is great. It's
yeah,
fantastic. It's imperative to your business. I was just at a tech expo yesterday,
yeah,
but don't get caught up with trying to keep up with the Jones with the next technology.
yeah,
Just utilize what you need right now. Make sure you can grow into it,
mhm,
and then take the next steps from there. So I would say you need to get out of the day-to-day grind and you need to work yourself. How does that look? It's a ladder. It's a ladder. How's that look at? I think it's a little different for a residential contractor than it is for a commercial roofing
yeah,
contract. Are you doing public work as well? Well, that's a completely different animal.
yeah,
But right now there's a ton of money going into the public world sector. So
yeah,
if you're a private commercial, what are you doing? I personally bid when I was in estimating. I bid multi-million-dollar public works roofing projects.
yeah,
It wasn't just roofs. It was a
yeah,
couple million of a $50-100 million project. But there's a lot of opportunity there.
yeah. And that's a
More
whole
paperwork,
different
though.
game, right?
That's
Then,
another whole different area.
yeah,
There's a lot more
yeah,
paperwork. You need a little bit more of a back office. But if you have the potential of being a minority company and you
mhm.
can get a minority certification like a women-owned business
Oh,
or
yeah,
DBE, right, or an MBE, or if you're a veteran,
yeah,
veterans are in really great need right now. And a lot of these public agencies, I mean, you're going to have work flying to you.
yeah,
You're not going to even know what to do with it. I'm working with a WB right now. They get 10 to 15 bid invitations a day. They're a concrete contractor. So
wow, yeah,
it's just there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's just understanding what that opportunity is. I helped an existing client right now who didn't even know that he had these certifications available to them.
yeah,
He made a phone call the next day. He says, "Jerry, I can't believe it. I'm applying for all these certifications. I just spoke to a contractor who has these certifications, and they don't
mhm,
even need to do outreach anymore."
man,
So
yeah.
there's a lot of opportunities out there. It's just understanding what resources are out there for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I as a veteran myself, I haven't gone through the process of being called a veteran-owned business. I mean, we are a veteran-owned business. I mean, you look if you're on YouTube, you're looking right back behind me. The jet right behind me is what I worked on in the Air Force, the F-117. You know,
Wow.
so
Wow.
um, you know, I did it. I was there, but it wasn't for me. I figured
Yeah.
out in that process that I was more of I wanted my own business, right? I didn't like the bureaucracy that I dealt with. I love the people. The people were awesome that I was stationed with and all that kind of stuff, and that I worked with. But I had to get out of the bureaucracy of it all. But that was just me. So
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
got you. Hey, listen, that's the reason why I went on my entrepreneurial, journey. It's the whole bureaucracy part of things, and thank you for your service, by the way.
oh, appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So, but I
I
think,
feel I serve people more now than I'd ever did
yeah.
in the Air
Well, maybe
Force.
you should get your SDVOB
Yeah,
certification, 'cause there's probably a lot of opportunity that you're not approaching
absolutely, absolutely.
come your way
Yeah,
as well. It's probably something that
yeah,
you should look into as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
Because
sure.
because a lot of so if you go to public sector as well, a lot of contractors, GCs won't even get awarded the project unless they meet
Mm,
a certain percentage
yeah,
of giving out to a minority company. And part
gotcha.
of that is as the VOB. Now, how's marketing fit in that? I really don't know,
I
but
don't know. Yeah.
it's out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. So, what's the biggest mistakes that you see companies making when over and over and over and over again? Something that you feel like all you do is preach this one thing. What is that?
I would say not working on your backlog properly. You need backlog, especially like if you're a residential roofer, for example. you're knocking out a roof 1, 2, 3. Within a couple of days, you got that roof done. You have to get it done within a
Yeah.
couple of days before the next
Yeah.
rainstorm comes in, right? And I think that's probably like one of the largest things is everybody hates estimating. Estimating was always one of my superpowers, but yet I hated it as well because I hated sitting in the office, but I was good at it.
Yeah.
Well, you need to be working on your backlog. Like when I worked for, or now, even forget about the companies I worked for. I still continue to talk with a lot of mega companies, and
Mhm.
the top executives in those companies are not really involved with the day-to-day operations out in the field. They're actually in the office working with the estimators and working with the business development. What's your business development look like? A
Yeah.
lot of, a roofing contract, everybody needs a roof somehow, some way, whether it's
Yeah.
their business, whether it's their shed. Somebody in my backyard right now is getting their shed redone. Their roof
Yeah.
is getting redone. Or else
Yeah.
I would have sat this podcast outside. I'm indoors right now because of it. So, there's always roofing work, and then there's always leaks,
Yeah.
and then there's the sun roofs, right? I call a
Yeah.
roofer every 2 years to fix my sunroof
Yeah.
or my skylight. I'm sorry, it's called my
Yeah.
skylight. So what does your business development look like as well? So a lot of the contractors who were 10, 15-year roofing veterans, they don't know how they network. They don't know how the
Mm.
business development, right? They
Yeah.
don't know how that looks. Are you joining the local chamber of commerce? Are you shaking hands with people? No, Jerry, I'm too busy. I can't do that. Well, you know what? Your backlog is going to go down, which is going to destroy your cash flow, which is going to result in you letting go of your very key people that you need for survival, who are going to
Yeah.
bring you to the next level in your company. So I think the largest thing is getting away from the tunnel short vision and start looking a little bit wider and deeper. You got to
Yeah.
look wider and deeper into your business. You got to look beyond the next 1 or 2 months. Your backlog, yeah, I mean, you could have 20 projects in your schedule, but those 20 projects could be done in a month and a half, a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of time. If you got key people and you're one of the fortunate ones who are nurturing. It's another thing too, is when you hire good talent, you got to tap into that good talent ASAP.
Mhm.
Don't wait and see how that person's going to play out the next couple of months. Because if there's other people scouting that person,
Yeah.
you better tap into that talent really, really fast. And I got a whole process of tapping into that talent
Okay.
and putting them to a mentor, signing them to a mentor. There's it looks different for every company, but you got to tap into that talent. I can go on and on with
No.
problems that I see, but I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing is getting away from the short vision and look long term. And you need to develop a strategy, put it on a piece of paper, and that there's a whole process to that as well. And making sure your decisions you're making every day are aligned with your long-term vision,
Mm.
and stop looking for that quick buck, that
Yeah.
short term. Look for the big opportunities that are down the line if you really want to grow. And another thing too, I just want to add one more thing, Chris. I'm sorry.
That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. This is pure gold, man.
Yeah, I love these topics. I mean, you can see I can't stand still behind this camera. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So, another thing too is a lot of contractors say, Jerry, I'm really comfortable where I am. I
Yeah.
don't want to grow anymore. And I'm like, well, what exactly does that mean? Because if you're not growing, you're dying. You will die if you're not growing. So for me, what I always recommend is you got to grow a minimum of 10% a year to stay ahead of
Mhm.
inflation.
Yeah.
You got to stay ahead of inflation. Your equipment, your people want more money. My insurance rates for my own personal business and
Yeah.
my own personal expenses, my auto insurance skyrocketed 23% in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Roofers have a lot of trucks, they have a lot of equipment. You got to stay ahead of inflation. You got to be growing 10% a year. How that looks for you, I'm not sure. But then you need to be growing 10% a year. Now, if you want aggressive growth, 10, 20, 20, 25, 30% a year, well, how's that look for you? So thinking that you're just going to stay where you are is just
Mm.
it's your cash flow and you're going to get consumed in the next couple of years, and to get out of that rut is going to be a lot harder. And it's not really fair for your people as well. Are you communicating that with your
Yeah.
people that you want to just stay there? Because your
Yeah.
people want advancement. They want to grow. Your foreman wants to become a super one day. Your super wants to become a project manager one day. Not
Mhm.
everybody, but most of them do. So
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And that's, one of the reasons that people do come to me, is that they want to grow. They want to grow their business. They realize that the business that they have right now, they can't sell, right? In long term, because you have to have active systems in place. One of those systems, obviously operations, how you get paid, right? How you do the sales, but most companies don't have marketing systems in place. They just rely on word of mouth, and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
if I could just throw one more thing into that, as
yeah,
far as valuations and wanting to sell your company, you got to really focus on. So your equipment is your equipment, right?
yeah,
The assets you own, they depreciate. What
yeah,
really gives you a high evaluation is your backlog, showing some kind of repeat business with your existing
mhm,
customers, which is never guaranteed when you move over. Is also another thing, which is really big, is are you the owner who's working 60 hours a week? You need
yeah,
to show that you're not working 60 hours a week. You want
yeah,
to sell your $10 million a year roofing company for top dollar. You need to show that you have those systems and
yeah,
processes that you just explained. You have the right people in the right seats who are running the business for you. And all you're worrying about is strategy and backlog and business development.
yeah,
You're always going to be a part of your business. I never, I don't, I mean, everyone's like, well, you can never be fully out. Listen, I worked for several owners who I
mhm,
saw once every 3 months, and they were running multi-$100 million a year companies. Why? Because they had the right people in the right
yeah,
place on their company.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay. And they can sell their company for a top dollar. That's
yeah,
the way you look at your company. So you need to have a good backlog. If you're doing small $20,000 jobs, it's really tough to get much of a backlog. So that becomes a little more tricky for a roofer. But are you working 60, 70 hour weeks? If you're working 60,
yeah,
70 hour weeks, you're gonna sell it
yeah,
for a low dollar amount.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, Jerry, looking forward, what are some trends that you're seeing in the construction industry in general, and how should, roofing companies really take advantage of those?
Yeah. So as far as sticking with roofers, I'm seeing a lot of eco-friendly roofs like
Mhm.
roof gardens, right? That's obviously not going to be something in the residential world, but in the commercial world, like I was just telling you before, prior to this, or in the beginning of this podcast, I was in the city yesterday, and there's garden roofs popping up everywhere. Everybody's going eco-friendly.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a niche you can get into. Obviously, solar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to get into solar itself and start dealing with electrical stuff, or maybe you can get into solar and start subbing out the electrical package. You tie
Mhm.
yourself to two or three core electricians who you can deal with at any given time. They're not always going to be available. So I recommend, you work out a package with two or three guys, or how do you align yourself with a major solar company where you can do the roofing portion for them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they always want to offset their risk as well. And they don't want to manage their people all the time. They don't want
Yeah.
solar people, the electricians and roofers. They want to offset it. I worked for GCs. The more you can push off to a sub, the better it is because it
Yeah.
reduces risk. And then they
Yeah.
cast all the project for you. Another thing too is AI, right?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I,
Mhm.
I heard a great quote yesterday. I don't know who said this quote. He said, AI is not going to replace your job, but the person who is leading AI and is who's using AI for their own personal business or
Yeah.
their own personal career is going to replace you.
Yeah.
It's not AI. AI is your friend.
Yeah.
AI is to take the mundane of your business, the repetitiveness of your business,
Yeah.
make it easier. Nobody can find estimators anymore. So now there's all these new estimating programs that are able to do your takeoffs, which I always recommend you don't trust AI,
Yeah.
but allow it to streamline your takeoff process. Pretty soon there's going to be estimating programs where you could pre-program rates. I mean,
Mhm.
let's face it, a lot of roofing is very repetitive, especially if
Yeah.
you're in the residential world. The commercial world becomes a little bit more different. So how is AI playing in your day-to-day operations? It's still really new, and that's what makes it more sexy for me, right? So
Yeah.
more intriguing, because those that are getting to or getting comfortable with it are going to be the leaders in it.
Absolutely.
So what technology are you implementing in your business? You know, technology is I got a quote right here actually. Tech will be a benefit for your business or will be what destroys your business. Meaning, meaning technology should only be implemented in your business if you find the gap for it, or don't keep up with the Jones and think you need to get
Yeah.
everything that your competitors have and then start telling all your guys that or gals that you need to start using it because they're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to rack up a high monthly bill with all this technology that you don't really need.
Yeah.
So those are really important. You know, I heard somebody say that yesterday. I actually wrote it down. It's right next to me, so it's really convenient. And then, you know, like I was talking to a roofer a couple months ago, and they're implementing drones with their
Yeah.
inspections and their own estimating as well. Like if you start getting into multi-million-dollar roofs, they're using drones for takeoffs or inspections instead of getting on the top of those.
Yeah.
You know, you waste a lot of time. So boom, you just fly your drone up 1, 2, 3, and then you leave.
Yeah.
So there's really unique ways. I was at a tech expo last week, yesterday, and there was these insane drones that do all these laser imaging and 3D models for you. You know, how do you implement a drone for your residential clients as
Yeah.
well? Oh,
Yeah.
well. So I think that's kind of, you know, that's kind of what I'm seeing as far as the
Love
future.
that. Love that. Yeah, and I agree on all of that. You know, AI, I'm a AI geek. I mean, we've been using AI in our agency for the past, 3, 4 years. We've actually implemented it into our own tools, right? On how we're doing what we are doing for our clients, and even further. And I'm going to throw this out there: train AI on you and your company, right? There's the ability to do that with custom GPTs inside of Chat GPT, but that's a whole other subject. But
That's
it's
awesome.
I can geek out on that stuff for sure.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I use AI every single
Yeah.
day, but I don't allow it. Like I tell it what to
Yeah.
do, just like what you
Yeah.
said. I train it to do
Mhm.
what it's got to do. That's really
Yeah.
about it. But contractors can use that for proposals
Mhm.
or for writing emails. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of proposals are very unprofessional,
Yeah.
and they can run their proposal through AI, Chat GPT, and say, "Hey,
Yep.
make this more formal.
Yeah.
I want to push on these certain points,"
Yeah.
and it'll reword it for you. Now you got
Yeah.
to make sure that
It
that
sounds like you, right? Yeah.
eighth grader can read it. So you can tell it, say, hey, make sure a ninth grader can read this, you know?
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
keep it simple, you know, you want to keep the proposals very transparent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jerry, this is all awesome, man. We could keep going on this stuff. I'm riffing on this, for forever, but this is a shorter podcast, so we need to
Sure.
head into our lightning round. Okay. But before we do, we're gonna take a really brief pause here for a word from our sponsor.
Sure.
RoofingSites.com. Since 2018, RoofingSites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. All right. And we are back for the lightning round. We have one rule and one rule only for the lightning round. And that's basically you have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions. You ready, Jerry?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So, question number one, Jerry, what is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, podcast, whatever, anything goes where roofer growth hacks.
Oh wow! So I mean, I would say it was a book that pretty much kind of changed the course of my life.
Yeah.
That helped me go on to my entrepreneur journey. That kind of changed my mindset, which made me a stronger person. And it's called The Middle Passage by Dr. James Hollis.
Hmm.
It's about like you know, I was going through a little bit of a dark time a couple of years ago when I was pushing myself to get out of that salary, push myself on my entrepreneur journey, and it helped me really paint a different perspective in my life, which has been phenomenal for me. By
Yeah.
far, my favorite book, my personal book. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. I'm gonna have to get that because I'm a book geek. These are all business books, sitting behind me that I've read, wrote my own book, working on my second book, kind of a thing. So I'm always on the lookout for new books.
It's not easy reading though. I had to
No.
keep going back. It's not easy reading, but
Yep.
it was powerful for me. It changed my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Number two. All right, Jerry, what is your favorite business hack? Right. Again, this can be a book, this could be a podcast, whatever. What do you got here?
So I'm gonna stick to a book, and a lot of people may not say that this is business related, but I think it's 100% business related. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Rob Purcell.
Mm,
Now
yeah.
that's another book that really changed the course of my life and made me understand that, hey, you can either choose a life of being average, or you could be a life of being above average. At the end, you're gonna regret being average most likely. So
Yeah.
just give it all you got and believe in yourself, and understand how to manage money. You need to
Mhm.
manage money. I mean, listen, money doesn't bring happiness, but it sure as hell gets you closer to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. That's when I first went into business 20 plus years ago, that was one of my mentors gave me that book. He's like, here, you need to read this. This is
Yeah.
the book that you need to read, kind of a thing. So I've handed that off to my 19-year-old son. Every single
Awesome.
one of my kids are gonna read that book, along with Think and Grow Rich and some of the other self-help type books, I would say on that.
Love
Yeah.
it. I love it. And I'm gonna do the same to my kids. They're just still too young.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Jerry, what is the best advice you've been given? And you get bonus points here for if you tell us how you actually applied it.
I'm gonna say the best advice I got was when I was a kid. Treat others as you want to be treated.
Mm,
I mean, it when people don't treat you well back, it makes it easier for you to let go of them in your life.
yeah,
But when you treat people well, I'm a firm believer that good things come back to you, both
yeah,
personal life and also in business. And how you treat your spouse, how you treat your own kids, how you treat your friends, and how you treat your clients and
yeah,
business. Treat others as you want to be treated. Be transparent. Be a
yeah.
good person.
Love that. Love that. And by the way, that's biblical too, right? I mean, if you're
Exactly.
religious
Oh
like
yeah.
I am, I mean, that's literally one of the things that was told to us that we have to that we should do. So yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love it.
All right, Jerry. Well, this has been pretty awesome. How can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you? How can we help you and support you moving forward?
Sure. Yeah. So my marketing, I'm hot and heavy on LinkedIn. You could find me on LinkedIn. I post
Okay.
often for years now. I got a YouTube channel, my website, pro-accel.com, on the free resources. All my YouTube videos are there with blogs that
Love
are
that.
AI generated, right? So I'm using AI, but they're generated based on what I say.
Mm,
So that's really important, right? So there's hours and hours and hours of videos of me talking about all different segments of running a business and growing your business. You can also email me, Jerry with a J, Jerry at pro-accel.com. And I'm sure you're going to have all this information in your
yeah.
phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on for Roofer Growth Hacks, sharing all of these just awesome, strategies, tips, just gold nuggets really of wisdom that you've shared.
Person, thanks for having me on, man. I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
And we're out, man. All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
So you
Awesome.
think you're doing well?
Yeah, no, I think it went great. That was awesome. Like I said, we could go on forever on all this stuff. I geek out on business in general, right? I'm a huge EOS fan. I'm a huge Profit First fan. Um, and we implemented EOS in the end of 2017 for our business. And we're just constantly trying to fine tune that in our own business and so forth. And I'm always telling everybody, I'm like, if you want to change your life and the trajectory of your business, get on EOS, right? So
So I actually base a lot of my framework also of
nice.
EOS.
Yeah.
I'm not you. I mean, I read all the
Yeah, yeah,
criteria involved
yeah,
with that. I'm not like an
yeah,
EOS certified
yeah,
technician. I really want this insane amount of money to do that. But
yeah.
I also do a lot of lean construction, which
Mm,
is
mhm,
like the
mhm.
construction world, right? So I fuse all that together, and then
Yeah,
every client that I get, I just keep tweaking
yeah,
this. I'm at like 20 pages now, this framework, and then I always add 1 or 2 pages that
yeah,
correlate to that exact business as well. So
yeah.
yeah,
Love it.
I'm big with that too. It's all about automation. Got to keep
Yeah.
it automated. Yep.
Yeah, and systems and just making sure, processes are in place for this. If this case, happens, then do this, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, no, I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, hey, Chris, I mean, if you ever come along, I mean, you focus just on marketing, right? You don't do any
Yeah.
consulting work yourself. You just straight up marketing consulting.
So I'm actually coaching two, they're now my clients, right? They started out as I was coaching them on marketing, but it's turned into now more business because, you know, they're now my clients because they're like, we can't keep up with all this marketing junk. There's just way too much stuff to do, right? And so, um, but we meet on a weekly basis now, and I'm coaching them on what I know, right? And what I know is just on the business side of things of, okay, you've got it, like what you said, you've got to get out of the technician hat, right? You've got to get that. And I call it operations. You've got to get out of operations, um, th anyways, these are smaller guys that are, trying to get to that $1 million level, and then, getting from 1 million plus, kind of a things. But, I've been coaching them for over a year now. They talked me into it, but we're figuring it out all sorts of really cool things together. Like, just, from a customer service standpoint, right? A lot of the things that I do in my company, like for instance, every one of my clients gets one of these. Okay.
Cool.
It's a welcome box, right? It kicks off. Life is too short to keep up with marketing your company. They get a shirt, they get my book, an autographed signed copy of my book, they get a notebook, they get a thank you card from me put into that box, and it gets shipped off, right? I'm like, what if we did this for roofing companies, right? Nobody does something like this. Nobody. And that would make them completely 100% stand out in the market.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, any company should be doing something like that. And
You mean
so we're,
sending to clients? I'm sorry. You mean
yeah.
sending?
So
Yeah.
for I send these to my clients when before the kickoff meeting, right? When they sign the agreement with me, I send this over to them. Okay. But what if the roofing company did that to their homeowners, sent them that, has a hat, a t-shirt, maybe a coffee mug in it, a thank you note from the roofing company owner, right? Just something to kick it all off and really set them completely apart, right? That nobody else is doing something like that. And really, this entire box cost me $100 to put together, and it's professional looking. You've got your logo on it. You've got, you know, um, got all sorts of stuff on the back side of it. You can make it look nice, and really polished, right? And it's just something that no contractor in the entire world does.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you're right. Absolutely, without a doubt.
yeah,
Used to bring us Christmas gifts and dessert trays and
yeah,
fruit trays and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm serious. Well, hey, listen. How I stand out. I want to respect your time.
yes,
I my beauty is my superpowers. I really was in those operations.
yeah, yeah,
I really understand the entire estimating process, including
yeah.
estimating. To
Okay,
estimate, I've never installed a roof, and
yeah,
then also the entire project management. So, in addition to helping them on the business side of operations, I also help within their operations as well, and that's where I
okay,
can kind of help them fill out some roles as well. So, if you ever have a
okay,
contract that you feel uncomfortable with, then from there, I would love a referral. And then likewise for me,
yeah,
obviously marketing. So many more
yeah,
contractors are getting into marketing, so
yeah,
it's great.
yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, and that they need it, right? They need a steady flow of leads coming into
Yeah.
their business and be in the right place at the
SEO.
right time that people are searching for them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
SEO is really big. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Awesome.
but
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We're always and we're always on the lookout for who we can, send business to. Like for instance, I've got a Paul Sanneman, who introduced us, right?
Yeah,
Perfect example. I send him business all the time because that's one of the first things that breaks is that they don't have enough people. They don't have enough of the right people in the right place for their, so I send people to him all the time. And, um, We've got some sales folks like Ryan Groth and that I send people over to when I start diagnosing that their sales system is horrible, that they are just they don't follow up enough, they don't ever follow up, right? And
Yeah.
when I get into their CRM and I'm like, what happened to these people? No one followed up with them. And you've got to follow up like the second that it comes in, if it's a form that's filled out, or you've got to pick up the phone. So, anyways, I could go on and on that. The things that break when they think that hiring a marketer is going to fix all their problems. The problem is, though, it actually identifies all those problems, because you're like, wait, we just doubled the amount of leads. We just sent you 100 leads. What did you do with those? I
Yeah.
mean, you got 100. I've got a client we sent him 1,000 leads last month.
Well,
You
what do you
know,
do? Good.
well, I mean, it's a bigger
Yeah.
company. They're a $20 million company, so
Oh,
they've got their systems in place, though, right? But when you pour gas on the fire
sure.
and really light your marketing up, it identifies your sales system, like possibly your call center is not working. You've got one person doing that versus it should be 2 to 3 people doing that it rolls over into a real system, or that their sales people, and sometimes this is the owner, aren't properly trained. They don't know how to follow up, right? And make the sale and get to that next step and ask the right questions, So
Or
it's all of these systems that I we're in our lane for marketing, you know, but all of these other things start breaking, absolutely, including operations, So,
awesome.
um, anyways, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, hey, listen, Chris, I'm gonna take down your information as well. I like to
awesome.
follow up with people that I
Okay,
network with
yeah,
and always,
yeah,
reach out again and
awesome, man.
take it
Yeah,
from. I work nationwide. I just picked up a
same.
contractor in California, so
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
traveling there in the next couple of weeks.
Nice,
All right.
nice. Yeah, I do everything via Zoom for us, kind of a thing. But you
Yeah.
know, anyways, yeah, yeah. Same. We work nationwide for all of our roofers, so we've got
Awesome.
about 40 roofers that we work with right now. So
Really?
um,
Okay.
we're
Cool.
scaling up to around 100. What we're trying to get to by the end of next year. So yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah,
So, hey, well, listen, if I could be of any assistance, that'd be
yeah.
awesome. I really do.
Absolutely. Same here. Same here.
Yeah,
Appreciate it,
likewise.
man.
All right, man. Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it.
We'll
Thanks,
talk.
Jerry.
Yep. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, you too.
Yep.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know, man, just like every one of these episodes, I've got a whole page, 2 pages really of notes that I took here. I know some of my biggest takeaways though was, one, don't ever stop business development. I 100% agree with this. Is every time that I've done this in my own business, I've seen a huge drop in the amount of projects that I'm getting, the amount of new clients that I get. And and that's the same thing that goes with all roofing companies. You should always be working on developing your business, right? So that means what he was relating that to was, make sure you go into the Chamber of Commerce, make sure that you are constantly out there networking and making sure that you are out in the community. Okay. Whether that's you as the owner, right? The face of the company, or possibly that's your sales staff going out and developing those relationships, getting those referral sources in place, all those kinds of things. You can never ever stop developing your business, because once you stop doing that, you stop growing. And that was the other thing. He said that if you stop growing, you're dying, right? And he said that every business should be growing at least 10% per year, okay, in order to at least keep up with inflation. If in past couple of years has shown anything, we have got to be making that a huge priority, right, for all of our businesses to ensure, because inflation has just gone crazy in the past couple of years, right? And so we have to ensure that we are keeping up with that. Our employees, they want raises, right? And if they want raises, they want to keep getting better themselves. We have to ensure that we are growing our business. So those two things go hand in hand. The other thing that I really, really loved, he said, get away from short-term tunnel vision, right? And we as business owners, we have these blinders on sometimes, and sometimes we absolutely have to do that. But if we're doing that 80, 90% of the time, we're missing the bigger picture. And I think, right now, as I'm recording this, we're coming up to the end of quarter 3. This is a perfect time to stop, reflect on your goals for the year for 2024, right? And build a plan for Q4, for quarter 4 and beyond. Okay. Are you reaching your goals? Have you even gone towards your goals? Have you accomplished any of your big projects that you needed to accomplish this year in order to get to your end goals? Do you even have goals, right? A lot of the roofers that I talk with just have general goals. They want to increase their business, but write them down. Let your staff know about those goals. Make sure that they understand about it, and then build a quarterly plan for how you're going to get there. Okay. And then pause at the end of every quarter and build the plan for the next quarter, the next 90-day sprint. Okay. It's an important thing to do there. Anyways, so I I took a lot away from that episode. I hope y'all did too. And that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks here. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Jerry. He said he's very active on LinkedIn, so go look him up if you need help with your operations. I highly recommend that you talk with him. He can get you set up to ensure that all of your operations are set up for success. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. We've got several Facebook groups. You can also check out our website at roofingsites.com. While you're there, you can listen to other previous episodes of Roofer Growth Hacks. I think at this point we have over 50 of them. So go there and make sure that you can binge listen to a whole bunch of really great content. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I will send you a free digital copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.